Hey, what's going on, role players? It's the Bard here. Welcome back to the corner, and I have a video specifically aimed at you DMs out there who are looking to give your players a bit more of a challenge. Well, I've got some creature combinations here to make your player characters think twice about stepping out of that tavern. Okay, role players, I'm going to be using 3.5 edition rules for this monster tag team setup, but even if you're using 5th edition rules, you're going to find that many of these ideas are transferable between whatever edition you're running, so don't worry about it. Alright DMs, now with that out of the way, let's move on to some monster killer combinations. Even at level 1, an adventuring party could find itself up against a killer combination, such as ghouls and stirges. Ghouls are one of those creatures that, being undead, stirges won't want to have anything to do with them. They just can't drain anything from them, so they just ignore them. Likewise, they fly up out of the ghoul's reach. So what a stirge is going to do is it's going to wait for an adventuring party to come through the dungeon, it's going to swoop in, it's going to steal blood and lower their fortitude, at which point the ghouls can come in and use their paralysing touches on their already weakened opponents. That will then really improve the chances of them failing a fortitude save. The ghouls can then drag their paralysed victims off to their lairs for whatever nefarious purposes they choose. Make sure you spread your stirges out. You don't want them to get caught in a burning hands or a sleep spell and get knocked out before they have a chance to be effective. So really spread them out, don't let them get caught in an AoE, and really make use of that blood draining attack. You don't even have to do it all at once. You can do this beforehand and then have the ghouls turn up later, because those adventurers aren't going to have time to rest and regain those constitution points back. Once your player characters get up a few levels, they're going to want something a little bit more challenging. Now, who doesn't love the odd werewolf? Well, I'll tell you who doesn't love a werewolf. It's player characters who've had their silver weapons destroyed by rust monsters. Rust monsters are amazing creatures that everyone instinctively fears because they don't want to lose their awesome gear. But a werewolf that takes up residence in a place where there are rust monsters around, naturally they don't affect each other, and they don't want to affect each other. Werewolves are the kind of creatures that you'll put in not as random encounters but as like plot encounters. They're the kind of creature that a town will want you to rid them of because of the way it's terrorizing them. So when the party goes looking for them and they find a group of rust monsters, then they're going to get really scared. There's going to be that tension and that build up beforehand, but as soon as they realise that they have to protect their silver weapons, or that there's going to be a lot more difficult for them to get rid of this creature than they initially thought, it makes the encounter that much more exciting. Harpies with their captivating song can lure wayward adventurers to their death through trap-filled dungeons. However, what tends to happen is anyone who has managed to resist the Harpies' call will be able to push their player characters out of the way with some help from their friends. So you're not going to get them in the traps that you want to get them into. However, what you can get them into is the waiting clutches of a phantom fungus, a creature that is immune to the Harpy song but also naturally invisible. So as the players are walking forward all entranced, they will not see the thing that they are walking into. You could also use a gelatinous cube if you wanted to. These things are oozes, again they're immune to mind affecting, and again you don't see the things. So either of those two creatures is going to be a killer combo when combined with a Harpy. However, you probably just want to go with the phantom fungus because it's just going to be so much more difficult to spot. Ghasts, just like ghouls, have constitution affecting abilities, so you want to lower the fortitude as much as you can. They have their ghoul fever disease, they have their paralysis, and they have their stench for the sickening effect. Ghasts are actually a really underrated creature because the players don't respect it enough if they keep passing their fortitude saves. So what you want is a good patch of yellow mold to really lower their constitution. Once their constitution has gone down, you can then use your paralysing touch, your stench, your ghoul fever, and even if the players get out of the combat alive, they could still be feeling the effects in the days to come when the ghoul fever sets in. Alright, moving on. So Grimlocks on the whole are pretty bad creatures. They're very weak and they don't have a lot going for them, and especially being blind, it doesn't really work in their favour. Unless of course you're pairing them up with a Basalisk or a Medusa or any other creature with a gaze attack. Then their blindness becomes their greatest advantage, because whilst you've got swarms of Grimlocks running around trying to attack a party, you've got your Medusa or your Basalisk moving around the outskirts using its gaze attack, trying to take out and stone as many creatures as it can. Of course, if you can't escape because there's Grimlocks surrounding you, you're gonna have a very difficult time getting away from or getting in a position where you can attack those gaze attacking creatures. So there's a combination for you right there. Chaos beasts are scary in general because of their corporeal instability. A blow from this creature will just turn you into a spongy amorphous mass if you don't save against it. However, what makes them even more frightening is if you're stuck and you cannot get away from them. A great way to do this is to use assassin vines. As a plant, they gain blanket immunity to that transmutation effect, so you're not going to be able to affect an assassin vine with a chaos beast's corporeal instability. But what the Assassin Vine will do is it will grapple the player characters and it will hold them down as the Chaos Beast rolls over and attempts to envelop them. A really nasty tactic, but one that the players should respect, because if they don't, they're gonna lose a character. Gargoyles and Gorgons actually make a really good combination as well. When you walk into the Gorgon's lair, the first thing you're going to see is all those statues of the Gorgon's victims. However, what the Gargoyle can do is it can blend in with all those statues and no one would even notice that it's there. The majority of the time the Gargoyle is going to sit out of the Gorgon's view, or it's just going to be so high up that the Gorgon's breath weapon simply won't reach it. So whilst it's there camouflaged by the Gorgon's other victims, if the party are going to attack, if they haven't spotted the Gargoyles, then they can swoop in and start adding extra damage. And whilst they're distracted by Gargoyles, the Gorgon is going to have a much better and much more advantageous time in trying to stone its victims. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more indirect and a little bit more subtle, then maybe you want to go with the Succubus. The Succubus loves to tempt mortals using her spell-like compulsion effects. Anything that can make it easier for the Succubus to tempt those mortals and make them fail their will saves will really be of value. So having a pack of Howlers hanging around is going to be ideal. Howlers are tailor-made for the Succubus because their howl does not affect outsiders. The howl is actually a very low will save. I think it's something like 12. So what you're going to want to do is make sure those things are howling all the time before the players even get to the place that they want to go to. Then they have to go through the dungeon, and then hour after hour they're going to have to resave against that howling effect. It's going to be difficult for them to fail a save, but when they do, it's going to be a slippery slope effect, because when they fail their will save, their wisdom's going to go down. When their wisdom goes down, their will saves go down. So it keeps declining. Keep doing this for as long as you possibly can, and if the players don't reach the Succubus in time, they're going to have such corroded willpower that it's going to be very easy for her to corrupt and tempt them. Red dragons are nasty enough as they are without having to have any backup, but just for the hell of it, why not stick a couple of iron golems in with them? When you've got a creature that naturally heals in the dragon fire, you're gonna find it's gonna be really hard to take them down. They heal something like 1 point of HP for every 3 damage of fire that they would have taken, so this makes them so easy for the dragon to repair. As long as it uses its breath weapon as often as it can, those things are not going to go down fast. And iron golems don't go down fast anyway. They're massively tanky creatures with tons of defense and lots of hit points, and they're resistant to all kinds of magics. So just having a dragon and even one iron golem is going to really hurt those player characters. So that's one to really watch out for. Plus this combination works at various levels because dragons go up by age category, so it's always going to be a viable option. Okay, this final one is going to be 3.5 specific because unfortunately 5th edition does not have the Trap the Soul spell that I could find. So this combination is going to be Lich and Terrasque. So getting the Lich and the Terrasque to work together is not actually what you're going to do. What you're going to do is you're going to get your wizard to cast Trap the Soul. Now this is going to be expensive, because you're going to have to provide a trigger item that is worth 1000 gold pieces per hit dice, but it is guaranteed to work. Since the Terrasque is a unique creature, you already know what its name is, and you can inscribe the trigger word onto the item that you're going to use. And all you do is throw it into the path of the rampaging Terrasque, and it will eat literally anything it can in its path. If it swallows that trigger, then it automatically gets trapped because it counts as having accepted that thing of its own volition, because it is choosing to eat the things that are in front of it. Therefore, it automatically gets trapped in the soul trigger, and it does not get a save or spell resistance. You can take out a Terrasque in a heartbeat with this spell, but what you want to do after that is use that spell trigger as your phylactery. Then that's when you become a Lich, and now the players have a moral decision to make. Do they allow the Lich to go and carry on across the world with its evil ways, or do they destroy the Lich's phylactery and let the Terrasque loose upon the world once more? What would you do? Okay, roleplayers, hopefully you enjoyed these killer creature combinations of mine. If you like what I do on this channel, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the videos to people you think will enjoy them, and hit that notification button so that you can be notified every time something new pops up from the channel. And I will see you guys next time at the gaming table with your killer creature combinations, ready to take out that unexpected adventuring party.